We have what we call exception handling. We use exception handling to handle errors so that we ensure a smooth process of code execution throughout. So we'll see how we can run a code that will execute certain operations and also handle errors within your code. So let's say, for example, we are defining a function that will capture integer information, integer values. So we now say we should try. So now we have a variable. So we're capturing an integer information. So this input would allow the user to insert certain information. Okay. So now have ask the user to enter an integer. Okay. So let's have a space. So after getting the integer, let's say accept value error. So now we now print error. It is not an integer, or maybe you provided an integer value or something like that. Else that user has inserted provided. So we say f you enter the variable that we declare. Finally, we now print exception handling completed. Complete. So now we are going to move to the next line and then yeah. So what we have done now is we have created a function. So we'll try to get a value, allow the user to insert elements and a value, and this value is stored inside a variable which is value. So now we use our exception handling to check as long as the value is not an integer. So we have defined the kind of information that we are needing, which is an integer. If it is not an integer, this error should be displayed. Else, the printout should be able to show that the user entered certain value. So in this, we have already called the variable. So whatever the user inserted will be displayed here. So each variable that is inserted here will be displayed here. Finally, now we have a printout that we've completed the extension was already done. So let's run it. But before that, if you run it, you are expected to call that function. So you declare the function and also you have to call it. So by doing so, integer, now we are calling that function. After running it, let's say we inserted 3. So it will now allow us to insert 3. Press enter, the exception will run. So it will show that we have entered a value, which is what? This 3. So this value is displayed here. And then the next thing is that we have the printout. So what if we run it and we inserted something like G? So this exception error will be displayed because what? The value that we inserted is not the integer that we said the user should be entering. So you see, it's error. It is not an integer because we have not inserted an integer based on this integer value. So this is how we use exception handling to try and accommodate error. So rather than showing the error, it will now prompt the error or show the user what the error is so that to avoid occurrence